new watch, new babe.
So what's good, TMG fam? It's your boy L, and I'm back with another reaction. Yo, we are about to check out what I think is about to be a crazy video, bro. Crazy video, huh? Can you imagine sitting down and interviewing a serial killer? Sitting down face to face on some Hannibal Lecter style and having a full-blown conversation with a serial killer. What would you ask him? What would you say to him? Huh? What would you try to figure out? Would you be paying attention to his mannerisms, trying to figure out what makes him inside of his body or his mind that clicks and makes him a serial killer, bro? Like, what would you say? I don't know. I just think that's very intriguing. You know what I'm saying? We're about to watch 4 extremely disturbing interviews with serial killers. Now, if there was one serial killer you could sit down with, who would it be? Would it be Gacy, Bundy, Dahmer? Like I know y'all probably looking at me crazy, like yo, what is L? What is OL? You know what I'm saying? I do not have any desire for any of that. I'm just thinking it's crazy. Anybody who sat down and watched the Hannibal Lecter movies, know, like, that stuff is intriguing. Even is it the Netflix series that he has? It's super intriguing to me. You know what I'm saying? It's just crazy just thinking, like, how do these people mind? How do they, like, what drives them to do some of the most deranged and heinous things that they do? Like, Gacy was what, a killer, was a clown? Telling you, man, clowns, I don't view clowns the same ever since I heard about him. All right, so let's check this out, man. If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. Let's go.
Whilst there are multiple disturbing interviews, some of the worst come from conversations with killers. So, from the woman who shot her own children to the man who murdered a family. Join us. Responsible for the murders of 5 women at only the age of 21, Bernard Giles was fortunately captured in 1974. More recently, Giles was interviewed by broadcaster Piers Morgan.
That day that you went out when you did kill for the first time, was that a morning when you woke up and you were with your wife and daughter and something hit you and you went,
no,
today may be the day?
every day may be the day.
Every day?
Every day may be the day.
Do you know the name of your first victim?
No, sir. Not now. Nancy Jerry.
Did you know anything about her life?
I found out later she was a singer in a bar.
That just goes to show you what the meaning of life, what life means. Like, it's nothing to him. Do you remember no. It could be any day is what he said when referring to his family. It could have been any day. Like, he has no value placed on life itself. That's insane to me.
Her life?
I found out later she was a singer in a bar. That was it.
Tell me what happened.
We picked her up in Titusville. There's a wooded area, and I pulled off the road.
What does she look like?
A little shorter than me, fairly well built, pretty but not particularly pretty, brown hair. That's about it.
And at what point did she realize that you were going to harm her?
Well, not necessarily that I was going to harm her, because most of them don't assume you're actually going to kill them. Most of them assume it's a rape or something like that.
And what did you then do?
I told her to get out of the car, and that's when she became afraid. Up to that point, I assumed that she thought it was just going to be a rape. I walked her over in front of a tree, and then I shot her.
Just like that?
Yes, sir.
And what were you feeling as you did that?
I mean, the thing is, what is your passion in your life? What is the thing that you like to do more than anything else? And you're doing it. You are so there that you can almost, it's like you can see the atoms vibrating. I mean, it's difficult to describe.
Like, he said you could see the atoms vibrating, bro. He's so present in that moment. And from my take, he loves doing that so much that he is so present in that moment, bro. And then on another note, why are they sitting so close? Is anybody else paying attention to that, or is it just me? You know what I mean? Like, any minute he could just jump up and just like, I'm pretty sure his deputy's in the room. You know what I mean? There's a cameraman there, I'm pretty sure. But that's still too close for comfort for me, bro. I'd be lying. You gotta give me a little space. Put a partition in between or something.
Soon after the killings, his wife and daughter left the trailer park.
And condolences and prayers to all of the families who, you know what I mean, these serial killers affected. You know what I mean? We should have said that at the beginning. But definitely want to make sure we state that.
And moved out of the state. He would never see them again.
You lost a wife, you lost your daughter.
I lost everything.
You lost everything, yeah. And do you know what happened to your daughter? Have you ever heard from her?
No, sir.
How does that make you feel?
What can you do with that?
We had a picture there.
Yep.
What do you feel when you see your daughter?
I don't know exactly.
When you look at your own daughter, that age, smiling, innocent, happy, what do you feel about the...
What if that would have triggered him? Like, seeing that picture of his child, who he really don't know or haven't had a relationship with. What if that was like a trigger point right there?
The young woman you killed.
I don't put those together.
I mean, what would you feel about a man who snatched your daughter and terrorized and raped and killed her?
I certainly wouldn't appreciate it.
That's it? That's how you'd feel?
Like I said, I certainly wouldn't appreciate it.
Wow.
Believed to have killed around 70 people, 49-year-old Tommy Lynn Sells was executed in 2014. Years earlier, on November 18, 1987, he brutally murdered the Dardine family. Sells had first overpowered the father, 29-year-old Russell, then severed his penis and shot him dead. After this, he'd raped Russell's wife, 30-year-old Elaine, before using a baseball bat to beat her and their 2-year-old son, Peter, to death. Finally, as the severity of the beating caused Elaine to go into labor, Sells killed their newborn baby girl.
Like, I don't even feel comfortable repeating what he just said, bro. That's how bad that was. Like, fam. Like, I think... Do y'all ever wonder if the death penalty is an easy way out sometime? Like, for a dude who just who committed that heinous of a crime. Do y'all think sometime that the death penalty is like an easy way out? A quick lethal injection? Or electric chair? Like, what happened to the days of like back in the long, early days? Long time ago, them torture chambers, them torture devices. You know what I'm saying? I've said too much.
so altogether about how many you killed, the question is, and you think your answer is what?
See, you trying to sew me up in a wow. I don't know. You know, do the math. A couple, 3 year, 4 year, for 20 years. What does that add up to? 50 to 70. I'll go with that.
Okay.
Probably more.
Again, value of life. He just read those numbers out like, you know what I mean? Like, that was change. I got about 70 pennies laying around somewhere. I think maybe 100. Like it meant nothing. And he laughed about it. Like he giggled about it.
Some of the people you killed, they could be men, they could be women, they could be kids. It was like an equal opportunity.
I didn't form a pattern as most.
Yeah, it was like anybody was fair game.
It did not matter. Blood is blood. It didn't matter man, woman, child.
Yeah, no more thrill to kill the mayor of the town than the homeless guy on the street.
No.
Quite a few times, not all the times, but quite a few times, it was a mother and a kid.
And I have an answer for that.
Okay.
And I thought hard about that because it's been like smacked up inside my head a time or two. I know what I went through as a child. The nightmares, the drama, the reality of who I was and what was done to me. I never wanted that to happen to another person. I had something against that person. And there was another person there that witnessed it. I didn't want them to carry that on their shoulder the rest of their life. Does that make sense?
Yeah, you were putting out of the misery they would have had if they had to live through all that.
That's what I was just about to say. So basically, if you don't understand what he's saying, is basically the reason behind killing the child or whatever would be because, well, his childhood was very tormented and different things happened to him. He didn't go into detail about what happened. He just said very briefly that he had a rough childhood. A lot of things happened to him. You know what I mean? And he said he wouldn't want people to, I saw it right when it happened. He wouldn't want people to go through that and deal with the tragedy of what he's done to their parents. So he would continue on and kill the child so they wouldn't have to spend the rest of their lives going through that trauma. Like, is that not a mind of a psychopath? And he started off by saying, you know, I've thought about this. I have an answer for that. I thought about this long and hard.
That's the best I can answer it.
If it was just a question of putting the other person, besides the one that you were targeting, out of the misery of having to live life with missing mama or missing, you know, whoever, maybe you would have gone about it in a gentle way.
Is there a gentle way?
Yeah.
Oh, how you know when they strap you to a gurney that everything inside of you just ain't burning up?
In one case, Sells murdered an entire family, bludgeoning a pregnant woman, her 3-year-old, and her unborn baby to death.
It's the sensation of the blood. It's the sensation tying that scarf around your neck and just watching your eyes. It's the sensation seeing that skin pull apart. It's sensation sticking that knife in and just pulling and knowing it's sharp enough just go all the way up.
Was there anything different the first time when you killed a person? Was there a different rush, a different feeling?
That first one, I can still see it in slow motion. And each one after that became more...
Speeded up?
More routine. I can't find the dragon I'm chasing no more. Yeah. I can't find that rush, that same release of anger I felt that first time.
So there was a release of anger?
Oh, without a doubt. It's like busted a piece of glass and there's just little shivers all up in there.
Sells seemed to feed off his own anger, of which there was no shortage. He became addicted to the release of this anger, which occurred through violent means. Paradoxically for Sells, evil for him
with other people.
Today, I might say, you know, Tommy, Dr. Stone, he's okay. And tomorrow I might wake up and say, you know that bastard, he tried to slide a slip one in on me. You understand?
I do. That's why there's this glass.
You think?
He said you think. Like you think that's keeping me from you?
Admittedly, Diane Downs isn't a serial killer, but that isn't through a lack of trying. In 1983, after a string of short relationships, Diane finally found love in her co-worker, Robert Knickerbocker. Robert, however, rejected her, stating he had no interest in being a father to her 3 children, Christiane, Cheryl Lynn, and Danny. Subsequently, on May 19th, 1983,
I don't know what happened there. That wasn't me. I guess they messed up somewhere. I don't know.
And Danny. Subsequently, on May 19th, 1983, Diane pulled over onto the side of a quiet road and shot each of them multiple times. She then shot herself in the arm and drove to the nearest hospital. Tragically, Cheryl was already dead, whilst Danny was paralysed and Christy barely alive. Meanwhile, Diane told doctors that they'd been attacked by a bushy-haired man who'd attempted to hijack the car. Police though were skeptical, and after a lengthy investigation, arrested her on February 28th, 1984.
We were just out, I guess, sightseeing, I guess you'd say. And the kids got tired. They fell asleep in the car, so I decided to just head on home. But I saw a road I hadn't been on before. We like to take back roads. And just went down that road, and there was a guy standing in the road, flagging me down, so I stopped. If I had shot my own children, would I not have done a good job of it? Why would I have taken my kids to the hospital? Wouldn't I have made sure they were dead and then cried crocodile tears? That's insane to think that I would do such a thing and then bring the witnesses in against myself. That's crazy. Christy woke up, and as I say, she may be the only one to get me out of this. Would I have brought her to the hospital? Wouldn't she be the one that I would make sure is dead? There are too many holes in it. When this man shot my daughter, my first reaction was to snap back to my childhood, to the pain that had happened to me back then, my marriage, my entrapment by society. This man was bigger than me. He was stronger than me. He had more power because he had a gun. And I stood there and I looked at Christy reaching, and the blood that just kept gushing out of her mouth. What do you do? Everybody says you sure were lucky. Well, I don't feel very lucky. I couldn't tie my damn shoes for about 2 months. It is very painful. It is still painful.
Like the laughter, I can't get past that. Like, this is not the mom of some kids who was just brutally murdered sitting here having like any mom would be broken down. Any mom would be in tears. Any mom would be just not being able to hold it together anytime you speak about your kids. Heck, I can't even walk past. I got pictures of my mom in here. It's hard for me to walk past and stare at it too long, or I'll start getting choked up. Like, these are your kids that came from you, and that.
The scar is going to be there forever. I'm going to remember that night for the rest of my life, whether I want to or not. I don't think I was very lucky. I think my kids were lucky. If I had been shot the way they were, we all would have died. You can't replace children, but you can replace the effect that they give you. And they give me love, they give me satisfaction, they give me stability, they give me a reason to live and a reason to be happy, and that's gone. They took it from me. But children are so easy to conceive. At night, when I close my eyes, I can see Christy reaching her hand out to me while I'm driving, and the blood just keep coming out of her mouth. And that, maybe it'll fade too with time, but I don't think so. That haunts me the most.
The smile.
Arguably the most infamous serial killer of all time, you've likely seen most of Ted Bundy's interviews. However, there is one very rare and disturbing recording that few have heard. In it, Bundy describes the murder of 18-year-old student George N. Hawkins.
I was moving up the alley using a briefcase and some crutches. and a young woman walked down. And about halfway down the block, I encountered her and asked her to help me carry the briefcase, which she did. We walked back up the alley. Basically, when we reached the car, what happened was I knocked her unconscious with a crowbar, and I handcuffed her and put her in the the passenger side of the car and drove away. One of the things that makes it among the things that makes it difficult is that at this point she was quite lucid, talking about things. It's funny. It's funny, but it's odd the kinds of things people say under those circumstances. And she had a Spanish test the next day, and she thought that I had taken her to help tutor me for a Spanish test. It's kind of odd. The long and short of it was that I again knocked her unconscious and strangled her. Can you hear that? The Hawkins girl's head was severed and taken up the road about 25 to 50 yards and buried in a location about 10 yards west.
Some of y'all ain't gonna sleep tonight after hearing this whisper. Promise you, you're gonna sleep with a bunch of lights on.
Up the road on a rocky hillside. By this time, it was almost dawn. But on this particular morning, I was just absolutely, again, just shocked, kind of scared to death, shocked, horrified about, and I went down the road, throwing the briefcase, the crutches, the rope, the clothes, just tossing it out the window, and the crowbar, everything, handcuffs, everything. I'd get mad at myself a few weeks later because I'd have to go out and buy another pair. I mean, it's not comical, but that's what would happen. This was just, I was in a sheer state of panic, of just absolute horror, you know. It's like, at that point in time, this consciousness of what has really happened is like, you break out of a fever or something. I would, that is. And so I drove, talk about details coming back. I couldn't find one of the shoes, so I thought it was there, but it wasn't. So I went back. This was the next day. Got on my bicycle, rode back to that little parking lot. I knew there were police all over the place by that time. So I went back to that parking lot and I found both the pierced earrings and the shoe laying in the parking lot. So I surreptitiously gathered them up and rode off. So, there you are.
I really don't know, like, where do you go from there, bro? Like, that's interviews from some of the most deranged people you ever, like, you start to question, like, are there people out there that really exist like this? And you have to say yes. And then you have to take a step back again and be like, now who are they? How do I identify them? And then you take another step back and you be like, could it be the person I'm living next door to? Can it be the person I say hi to, passing by, walking my dog in the morning? Could it be the person behind the counter that I just went to Starbucks and got a coffee from? Could it be the cashier at Walmart that, you know what I'm saying? It will really make you paranoid if you let it, bro, because you don't know who they are. Each one of these people look like they could have put on this facade and been regular, tax-paying, you know what I'm saying, human beings that you could have lived next door to and went out in the morning, grabbed your paper and waved to every day. You just don't know, man. And that is scary. Y'all get at me in the comment section, bro. Till the next reaction, I'm out. Peace, y'all. Stay solid. Hey.